Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Freelance Teacher. I am repping my Mount Vernon High School sweatshirt today. So we are representing today with my legions of fans and all the subscribers. Get to see what's going on and how things work in the world today. Talking to you today a little bit about one of the latest fads that you need to look out for. And when I say you need to look out for it, and I'm talking about really anybody who wants to have a productive conversation, people who want to actually trade ideas, and those people are few. And so what I'm going to talk to you today is a way for you to notice and recognize people who aren't willing to do that. And then you can save a lot of time on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on a phone conversation, or at a meeting with your staff, things like that. And it's this wretched non-argument that, and I'm going to use the term progressives. I hate to do that because progressives are liberals, because there are actually so few real ones left that I don't want to malign those people. Glenn Greenwald, Chris Hedges. There's a guy who named Glenn Ford, who runs the Black Agenda Report. And, these guys are Marxists, the Black Agenda Report, open Marxists. I think something I radically disagree with. But they're honest liberals. They're honest progressives. So when I say progressives, what I mean are kind of like your Twitter progressives, your the Twitter mob types, the people who on Facebook basically sing a one-note song of everything Republican, conservative, libertarian is bad and racist and homophobic and Islamophobic, and there are no exceptions. And everything that's not that is just wonderful. I mean, it's just fantastic, no matter what. So these are people who can't get past their ideology and their ideologues, which can be dangerous, as we have seen throughout history. But the latest one, the latest non-argument, the latest word that gets thrown out there that is intended to stop arguments is whataboutism. And I mentioned Glenn Greenwald before, a person with integrity. And he had this tweet, and it was kind of funny. I'm paraphrasing, but he had a sense where he had a message where he tweeted out, whoever came up with the idea of saying whataboutism when talking about a policy or an opinion deserves to be, I forget it was like sent into the darkest circle of hell or something like that. It was pretty funny stuff. And it's interesting. And some of you who are thinking people out there, and I know there are some of you, so, you start to recognize other people who can think clearly. You may not agree with them, but they can think. And that I saw that. I was like, whoa, here's Glenn Greenwald with 80 gazillion followers, top flight journalist, a good writer, gives a great TED talk as well. And he sees what I see. So I had the same thing. It wasn't a comment thread on Facebook that I was partaking in, because I try to do that now much less frequently. But I saw someone come in with a dissenting opinion. There was some progressive race-based thing on Facebook, right? I mean, is there anything else these days? And someone had brought up it wasn't even like a rabid conservative or libertarian position. It was just a little bit of a, hey, what do you think about, well then what about this situation? And, someone who sniffed and with smug air said, here, I see that you too have to deal with whataboutism on your thread. And they were talking to the Facebook page owner themselves. So this is an evolution in non-argument statements. What you used to see is debunked, right? Someone will come up with an alternative idea, or will come up with something that happened that doesn't fit our overlords' narrative. Big government, big media, big education, right? It doesn't fit their narrative. And it's funny because people rush to defend the status quo. They rush to defend the establishment, right? The hashtag resist people, all they do is defend the establishment. I've never seen anything like it. So someone will come up with something and be like, oh, that's been debunked. And I mentioned before this crisis actor foolishness with the Parkland shooting. And remember, all I did was tell this one guy, David Wolf, that he was brave and risque for actually, mentioning something like crisis actors. Just mentioning it. And I, of course, got an avalanche of tweets. My Twitter feed is pretty quiet. And all of a sudden, I've got all this activity on my phone. And I got yelled at on Twitter by some tool bag, right? Some anonymous twit, and said, oh, he's not a crisis actor. He was a student. All that stuff's been debunked. Just like that. Debunked. And you're supposed to, and I mean you're supposed to say, oh, okay, been debunked. Right? I mean, really? It's been debunked. Anything I can read? Anything that other than someone saying it's not true? Is there something you can show me? Because I've seen stuff, and I'm not, I get called a conspiracy theorist, not much anymore, but I mean, I've seen stuff that is pretty weird, right? I mean, the kid, there's apparently a massive shooting thing going on at his high school. He runs home, gets his better camera so he can get better footage, and then comes back. That's the official story on NBC. Doesn't that seem a little strange to you? How are you going to get back in the school? They don't have the doors locked down? They just letting anybody in? How? Someone could just walk back in? Oh, I went to get my camera, the better one, so I can get better footage. And then there's this coaching with the other thing. I mean, it looks, I don't know. It looks a little odd to me. Let's just put it that way. But not so fast. That's been debunked. So that's what you used to see. That's now morphed into whataboutism. So this happens to me a lot because I'm the guy on your friend's Facebook thread who, when they're complaining about Donald Trump, I'm the guy who says, hey, wait a minute. There was a bomb dropped in the Middle East every 20 minutes for 8 years, and you didn't say anything. And now you're talking about microaggressions that are caused by Donald Trump's tweets. Now, it doesn't, you're going to need a little bit more, right? And so instead of saying, yeah, I was an anti-war person under Bush and then I dropped the ball, or obviously I was distracted or I was wrong, no. Oh no. Because remember Commandment 11, thou shalt not criticize anything that has Republican, thou shalt not criticize anything that has Democratic or liberal or progressive attached to it, especially if it's someone like Barack Obama. Oh my God, criticize that guy. Forget about it. And as a side note, the Black Agenda Report people, you go to those people for a healthy obliteration and evisceration and disembowelment of the Obama administration. And I think it was Glenn Ford who said, this is a side note, I'll get back to whataboutism. Hey, come on, it's me. I got to be me, right? We're going to do this. I think it was Glenn Ford who was, after not very long into the Obama administration, said he's going to be able to get away with everything that a white conservative male Christian could never think of or dream of getting away with. And Ford was right? That's some heavy duty criticism. Even harsher than somebody like Cornel West or Chris Hedges. So anyway, I'll say something like that, or maybe you will. We have some independent thinkers out there. I see you, right? You're out there. And you'll say, well, what about this? What about, again, a bomb every 20 minutes for 8 years? That's kids, women, right? Supposedly, we are not allowed to criticize any a terrorist attack done by someone who's Islamic, right? We get called Islamophobes just for saying, hey man, look at the people who did that. That's terrible, right? Oh my God! Oh, it's a state, it's a federal case, and those are Islamic people getting killed out there, peasants, and no one, and those people didn't say anything. Supposedly they're on the side of the angels, and they talk about, oh, we're worried about the white lash, or right, we don't want this anti-Muslim backlash and all this kind of, well, you didn't say anything when those people were getting blown up. That's legitimate criticism. And the reason why you hear whataboutism, oh, that's whataboutism. Oh, I see you have to deal with whataboutism on your page as well, is because these people cannot debate. They don't know how, they don't want to, they're emotionally driven. And at best, well, let me put it this way. The best thing you can do is to avoid them simply so you don't waste your time. Right? And I don't know if this will ever happen, but if the American economy implodes and we get all this craziness, or the dollar vanishes into just the paper and digits that it is, right? Those people shouldn't maybe be so high on your list of like, let me help these folks. Really? You're the what about you? I criticized your whack opinion and you just dismissed it with whataboutism. That's an emotionally driven person who is so illogical and so irrational that you don't want to waste your time with them. You just don't. It doesn't make any sense. You're going to get nowhere with that person. And I'm telling you this because it took me, I hate to say it took me years to figure this one out. It really did. Because I used to say things and argue and say this and let's try this, and we did this for 8 years. We were all singing the same song under W. Bush, and then Obama comes in, and this whole everything is politicized now. And I, like many of you, see inconsistencies in the way people act. And I was always thinking, well, that, these regular people, they're pretty good, right? The regular people can be relied upon. It hurts me to say, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if the regular people can handle it, because what you see now is one thing you gotta take your hat off to Trump for doing is it really exposed people's ability to reason. Because what you don't hear, and I'll leave you with this, because I think I'm right. What you don't hear is Donald Trump is a bad president because of this policy, that policy, and the other policy. And here's what he should do instead. I see very little of that. Maybe you see more. If you do see that somewhere, let me know, because I would be in your debt. What I do hear is people telling me what he thinks. They're telling me what he compensates for. They're telling me that he's stupid, that he's a bad businessman, that he's a racist, he's a bigot, that he's got small hands, that he's Cheetos, Drumpf, all of these kinds of things. I don't see. I mean, you want to go to some websites where they do that. You go to unorthodox websites that you make your progressive friend's head explode. You've got to go to the dissident right. You've got to go to the libertarian sites. You've got to go to sites that 2 years ago were called alt-right sites. Now, that term is poisoned. So you can't, I could say go to the alt-right sites, but now, again, anything that's not progressive liberal is a racist site or conspiracy theorist. And that's why I think I'm correct on this. You don't see, here's the policy, here's what he's doing, here's why it's going to fail. This is a mistake. No, you don't. You get emotion, you get babble, you get what they're calling Trump derangement syndrome. And his election has exposed a lot of this. So remember Bush Hitler, Bushitler, right? This guy was Hitler. Well, now Trump is literally Hitler, right? We had that for the first year. So what's next? How do you top that? If you're going to be an emotionally driven loon and be unable to have a discussion, how do you do that? What's the next step? So, whataboutism is the latest bane of our existence. Those of us who like to think, read, ponder, discuss, trade ideas. So look out for it. Don't say I didn't warn you.